So think about this for a second. How does a shark, a bird, and, well, you fight off an infection? You'd probably guess their defense systems are completely different, right? But what if I told you they're all working from the same ancient instruction manual? Let's dive into this incredible 450 million year old story of immunity. Our story starts here. And just try to wrap your head around that number 450 million years. I mean, that's way older than the dinosaurs, older than the first forests on land. This is when the basic design of our immune system, the one you have right now, first showed up in jawed vertebrates. This isn't some new human invention, it's an ancient survival tool, tested by fire for hundreds of millions of years. And what we're talking about here is the adaptive immune system. You can think of it as the special forces of the body. It's the part that doesn't just fight, it learns, it remembers, and it mounts a hyper-specific attack against an enemy it's seen before. The most amazing part? From a shark to a human, we all share this fundamental blueprint. So here's our game plan for this explainer. We're going to start with that ancient blueprint. Then we'll get into the incredible variety in what I call the antibody arsenal. We'll look at how moms pass immunity to their young, check out the part of the system that basically never changes, and then we'll wrap it all up with a big side-by-side comparison. Okay, first up, let's take a closer look at that 450 million year old system. What are the absolute core parts that pretty much everyone, from a salmon to a lion, has in their defensive toolkit? It really boils down to these three key players. First, you've got B cells. They're the body's mobile antibody factories, just churning out weapons. Then you have T cells, the commandos who coordinate the whole attack and even kill infected cells directly. And finally, you have these things called MHC molecules. The best way to think of them is like tiny display cases on the surface of your cells, constantly showing off bits of what's inside. This is how the T cells know who's healthy and who to attack. Every single jawed vertebrate house. Okay, so this is where it gets really cool. While the basic players are the same, the tools they use, they can be wildly different. We're going to start by looking at antibodies. You see, evolution has come up with a whole arsenal of different versions of these proteins to solve the exact same problem: how to neutralize a threat. Now, to really get a handle on all the variations, it's easiest to start with the system we know best, and frankly, the one that's the most complicated. So we're going to use the mammalian immune system as our baseline for comparison. Mammals have this incredibly specialized toolkit. You've got IgM, the first responder. It's the blaring ambulance on the scene of any new infection. Then there's IgG, the real workhorse, the most common and versatile antibody in your blood. IgA is the guardian at the gates, protecting all our wet surfaces like your gut and your lungs. IgE is the specialist, like a highly trained sniper for taking out parasites, but it's also the one that goes haywire and causes allergies. And IgD, well, IgD is still kind of a mystery, but a leading idea is that it's like a final quality control check before a B cell gets the green light to go all out. But other animals, they've really streamlined their arsenals. Birds, for example, they don't bother with IgG. They have something called IgY, which does a very similar job, just super efficiently. Fish have an even simpler setup. Their main antibody is IgM, but they evolved this totally unique one called IgT, which is specialized to protect their skin and gills from all the nasty stuff floating around in the water. Now, all this variety in antibodies leads us to one of the most critical survival strategies in the whole animal kingdom: how a mother passes on her hard-won immunity to her completely defenseless baby. And believe me, this is where the differences really become a matter of life and death. So in mammals, there are basically two main game plans. Some, like us humans, use placental transfer. The mom's antibodies literally cross the placenta, so the baby is born with a preloaded defense system. But others rely on something called colostrum. That's the first milk, and it's packed with antibodies. For these animals, the newborn absolutely must drink this milk right after birth to get any protection at all. And this chart, wow, it just shows how dramatically different the strategies are. We humans get 100% of our initial immunity through the placenta before we're even born. A puppy gets maybe 10% that way, but 90% comes from mom's first milk. And a horse, a foal, gets zero, absolutely nothing before birth. It is 100% reliant on that first drink of colostrum. And this is the point that cannot be overstated. For animals like horses, cows, and pigs, that first drink of milk isn't just a meal. It is their entire immune system for the first few weeks of life. If they miss it, they are completely vulnerable to every single germ out there. So what about birds? They can't use milk, obviously. So they came up with this incredibly elegant solution. The mother hen literally packs the egg yolk full of her IgY antibodies. As the chick develops inside the egg, it absorbs these antibodies into its bloodstream. It's basically getting vaccinated before it even hatches. It's a perfect, self-contained survival kit. Okay, so we've seen just how much the antibody side of things can change from one animal to the next. But that's only half the story. Now we're going to pivot to the other main branch of the adaptive immune system. And what we find here is a remarkable, almost stubborn lack of change. And here is the absolute bottom line for this section. The job of T cells, hunting down and destroying our own cells that have been hijacked by viruses or have turned cancerous, is so fundamentally critical to survival that the basic machinery has been preserved for 450 million years. You just don't mess with a system that works this well. And their roles are crystal clear, and they're universal. First, you have the T helper cells. They're the conductors of the immunological orchestra, telling B cells when to start making antibodies and coordinating the whole response. Then you have the cytotoxic T cells. These are the assassins. Their job is to find those compromised cells and take them out, period. Every vertebrate relies on this same 1-2 punch. All right, let's bring it all home. We've seen the shared blueprint, and we've seen all the diverse strategies that have evolved on top of it. Now we can put them all side by side and really see the big picture. This table just lays it all out so clearly. You can see the different evolutionary roads taken. For the main blood antibody, you go from IgG in mammals to IgY in birds to IgM in fish. For protecting those mucous surfaces, mammals and birds use IgA, but fish invented their own tool, IgT. The passive transfer methods couldn't be more different. Placenta and milk versus egg yolk. And even the place where B cells go up is different. For us, it's the bone marrow. For birds, it's a unique organ called the bursa of Fabricius. And for fish, it's their kidneys. Each strategy is perfectly tailored to that animal's way of life. And look, this isn't just some fun biology lesson. Understanding these finely tuned differences is absolutely critical for modern veterinarians. You can't just create a vaccine for a fish using the same logic you'd use for a dog. You can't diagnose a disease in a parrot without understanding its unique immune system. This knowledge literally saves animal lives every single day. So it all leaves us with this one big thought. The immune system is just this beautiful, ongoing story of adaptation. It never stops evolving to meet new threats. And when you look back at this incredible 450 million year history, you just have to wonder, what new challenges, from emerging viruses to a changing climate, are pushing the immune systems of the animal kingdom to evolve right now?